It looks like we're going to have a shutdown. What does that tell us? And there is a wing of the Democratic Party, I call it the socialist wing. Some less charitable people call it the loon wing of the Democratic Party. And they are in charge right now. And the non-loon, non-socialist Democrats are scared to death of them. They think our kids should be able to change genders back and forth at recess. Kids. And if it's their preference, should be able to undergo sex change operations while minors paid by you, the taxpayers. They believe that. They believe in open borders. They believe that if you support the law, which says you have to be vetted to come into our country, if you support the law, you're a racist. I think if you support the law, you're being prudent. But they believe in open borders.
The Senate chamber erupted in tension as Senator John Kennedy clashed directly with Majority Leader Chuck Schumer over the looming government shutdown. Turning his focus on Chuck Schumer, Kennedy laid out the core of the fight. According to him, Republicans offered a clean extension of the current budget until Thanksgiving, something both parties had done dozens of times before. But this time, Democrats rejected it outright. Kennedy revealed that Schumer and his allies were holding the government hostage, demanding an additional $1.5 trillion in new spending. He accused the Democratic Party of bowing to what he called its socialist wing, a radical faction pushing for open borders, taxpayer-funded sex change surgeries for minors, and hostility toward American traditions. Let's dive right in.
Well, Mr. President, it looks like we're going to have a shutdown. What does that tell us? I'll tell you what it tells me. It's simply that much more evidence that human evolution is a slow process. I thought humans had advanced more as a species, but apparently we haven't. What do I mean by a shutdown? Well, we can't keep government open without a budget. And tonight at midnight, our current budget expires unless we vote to maintain the status quo and continue the current budget as we negotiate a new one. Many of my Democratic friends say, well, what's the problem? The Republicans are in charge. The president's a Republican, and the Republicans have a majority in the Senate, and the Republicans have a majority in the House. What's the problem? They know what the problem is. We can't pass a budget. We can't keep government open just with Republican votes here in the Senate. We only have 53 Republicans. We need 7 Democrats to join with us. So for my Democratic colleagues to say, well, the Republicans are in charge and they don't need us, they know that's not accurate. And that's what's going on. Now, we've had a few shutdowns before, and every shutdown is different, but most shutdowns are a combination of both policy and politics in varying degrees. This shutdown, in terms of policy, makes absolutely no sense. None. What we have proposed to our Democratic colleagues and the minority leader, Senator Schumer, is to make no changes to the current budget. We just want to continue the current budget and keep government open until just before Thanksgiving to give us more time to negotiate a permanent budget. We did that many times when President Biden was president and when the Democrats had the majority. In fact, we did it 13 times. Not only have Republicans done it, but Democrats have routinely done it. But this time, the Democrats have said, no, 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 no. We want more. And you may be thinking, okay, that's reasonable. What do you want? Well, it's not reasonable. In effect, what the Democrats are saying to us is that we're going to close government unless you Republicans agree to make it bigger. We don't want the status quo. We want you to commit to spending $1.5 trillion more than you're spending now. And we, the Democrats are saying, are going to tell you how to spend it. First, they want us to repeal all of the Medicaid reforms that we did in the reconciliation bill. Some call it the One Big Beautiful Bill. The One Big Beautiful Bill would not reduce Medicaid. In fact, it would go up about 2% every year as a result of our bill. But it would say to people who are on Medicaid, who aren't eligible for Medicaid, that you're not going to get Medicaid anymore. Dual eligibles, people who sign up in Louisiana and Mississippi, that's fraud. Under our bill, they would be thrown off. The Democrats want them put back on. Under our changes in the One Big Beautiful Bill that the Democrats want us to reverse, you would have to satisfy certain income levels to be on Medicaid. The law says if you make too much money, you can't get Medicaid because Medicaid is for the poor. In my state, we have found people through audits making $120,000 a year on Medicaid. So our bill, which the Democrats want us to repeal after just passing it, would say to those people that if you don't meet the income limits, you can't get Medicaid. So that's the first demand of the Democrats. Take out all the reforms that we made to Medicaid in the reconciliation bill and throw them out the window. Number two, they want to extend the Obamacare subsidies. What does that mean? Well, first let me say Obamacare was a mistake, and we know that now. When President Obama passed Obamacare, we were told that our lives would be better. Our lives have been worse. We were told that it would make health insurance more accessible and more affordable. It's done neither. On the non-Medicaid part of Obamacare, we've got, 25 million Americans who are accessing it. And for the most part, about 90% of them are low-income Americans. But the rest are making huge sums of money. Some are making $160,000 a year getting Obamacare subsidized by taxpayers. And that's not the way it was supposed to be. How did we get here? Well, it's simple. During the pandemic, when people were being laid off or losing their jobs or couldn't work, President Biden rammed through a bill to enlarge the subsidies. He took the cap off the amount that you needed to earn in order to get Obamacare. And those subsidies at the end of this year are about to run out. Now, the Republicans have said, we'll sit down with our Democratic friends and talk about how to extend them, but we want to reform the program because it's not right that people making $125,000, $150,000, $250,000, $200,000 a year are getting their health insurance subsidized by the federal government. That's bone deep down to the marrow stupid. But the Democrats, Senator Schumer and his colleagues, have said, nope, we will shut government down unless you agree automatically to extend these subsidies, which were passed during the pandemic, after the pandemic is over, permanently. And that's just some of my colleagues' demands. I mean, you need an Excel spreadsheet to be able to follow their demands. Their demands to keep government open, you stack them here, you could stand on them and paint the ceiling. And that's not much of an exaggeration. And when Senator Schumer announced these demands, that's when I knew. I knew it in a nanosecond. We're going to have a shutdown. Because my colleagues, my Democratic colleagues, are very smart people. And Senator Schumer is a smart person. And he knew when he announced these demands that I could tell he wasn't serious. He knew they were unserious. And he knew that neither the president nor the other members of Congress were going to accept them. And you know what? Many Democrats know they're unreasonable as well. So that's why I say the policy part of this makes absolutely no sense. And that's because this isn't about policy. This shutdown is about politics. Now, parties change. Just like the human experience changes over time. Political parties change. My party's changing. So is the Democratic Party. And there is a wing of the Democratic Party, I call it the socialist wing. Some less charitable people call it the loon wing of the Democratic Party. And they are in charge right now. And the non-loon, non-socialist Democrats are scared to death of them. And this particular wing of the Democratic Party that's in the ascendancy, what do they believe? They try to out-weird each other all the time. They hate, if you listen to them, they hate Thomas Jefferson. They hate Abraham Lincoln. They hate George Washington. They hate Dr. Seuss. They hate Mr. Potato Head. They think our kids should be able to change genders back and forth at recess. Kids. And if it's their preference, should be able to undergo sex change operations while minors paid by you, the taxpayers. They believe that. They believe in open borders. They believe that if you support the law, which says you have to be vetted to come into our country, if you support the law, you're a racist. I think if you support the law, you're being prudent. But they believe in open borders.
Senator John Kennedy's clash with Chuck Schumer over the shutdown was more than just another heated exchange on Capitol Hill. It was a defining moment that cut through the noise and revealed what this fight is truly about: principle, accountability, and the protection of the American people's interests. While Schumer and the Democrats tried to frame the showdown as a simple budget dispute, Kennedy ripped the mask off and exposed the reality. This was not about passing a clean, temporary budget. It was about Democrats holding the nation hostage to demand an extra $1.5 trillion in spending and pushing forward policies that reward fraud, weaken Medicaid reforms, and permanently expand Obamacare subsidies to the wealthy. Kennedy made it crystal clear that this was not governance, it was extortion, dressed up as negotiation. Kennedy also reminded Americans of something vital. Shutdowns hurt families. Seniors worry about Social Security checks. Veterans worry about their benefits. Federal employees are left in limbo. But instead of giving in to fear, Kennedy reassured the people that essential services would continue, that the Trump administration would protect seniors and veterans, and that the only real threat to stability came from Schumer's political gamesmanship. His steady tone in that moment showed leadership, not panic. More importantly, Kennedy pointed out that this shutdown was not born from policy disagreements, but from raw politics. A radical wing inside the Democratic Party, what he called the socialist wing, had seized control of the debate, leaving moderates paralyzed and fearful. Kennedy's words were a warning not just to Schumer, but to the entire nation. When extremists dictate the terms, chaos follows. His blistering warning to Democrats: if you pray for rain, you better be prepared to deal with the mud, cut to the core of the matter. Schumer and his allies might think a shutdown gives them leverage, but Kennedy reminded them that once government closes, the burden of reopening it will fall squarely on their shoulders. And with demands so outrageous and disconnected from reality, Kennedy made sure the American people knew exactly who to hold accountable. In this fight, Kennedy stands as the voice of reason. He is standing between reckless spending, broken promises, and political extortion on one side, and the hard-working taxpayers who expect fairness and common sense on the other. His courage to call out the games, his refusal to bow to the socialist wing, and his commitment to protecting ordinary Americans show why his leadership resonates far beyond the Senate chamber. At the end of the day, Kennedy's message was simple but powerful. Government should not be a pawn in partisan chess games. It should serve the people with honesty, restraint, and accountability. By clashing with Schumer, Kennedy reminded the country that leadership means saying no when the easy answer is yes.